I don't think it's a bad option, but I wouldn't underestimate what a professional company could do for us and what they could intangibly offer to us in their experience, in their reach, in just the satisfaction of personnel not feeling overworked or stressed, taking on extra work and having to let other stuff go by the wayside. So personally, I still think GovHR is a good option. I might be the only one, but I just wanted to reiterate that I think there's a lot of things that they offer that is very, very good that we're not going to be able to duplicate, as well as, even though it's limited, a guarantee of some sort.
Other comments? Yeah, I do want to bring your attention to something. There is an error on the local search outline that I provided, and that is because when I spoke with Commissioner Barrett, he had thought it was a 60-day process, but I got in the minutes at the end of the day, or at least I was able to read them at the end of the day, from the office staff. And after reviewing the minutes, which you all have copies of, I sent it to you through Ms. Walter, you'll find out that it was a longer period of time than I think he remembered. Time has a way of kind of flying by. So I have to rework where the milestones are for what phase, as far as what weeks, because this only has it down to 8 weeks for the local one. So I just wanted you to be aware of that error. It's just because I haven't had a chance to marry up the updated information. So I had asked everybody at the before we adjourned last night's meeting that tonight we would have to make a decision, with the caveat that if we make the decision to do this at the local level, then we have to have some people who are committed to actually doing the work. And I know there's many people on this council that they're straight out already. This has to take priority. This is the #1 priority on our plate. So the only thing that we have to kind of discuss is what the screening committee would be comprised of. It would be a little different than what they did at the county level, if that's the way you want to go. But I think learning from the past, we would want to make sure at some point the entire council has access to all of the resumes, so that we know who was applied, as far as should they have gotten to the final 6 finalists or not. Because you'll see at the county, the entire governing body looked at every resume that was presented in the process. And then they ranked them. And then that's the other thing. So the staff put an e-folder together, dropped all the resumes into it, then they made both a digital and a hard copy folder, and gave a folder to each member of the screening committee. The screening committee independently, the members independently looked at all of them, and they ranked them independently. And then they came together to share their findings, and from there they whittled it down to the top 5 or 6 candidates. So that's the process. If that's the process you want to follow, so be it.
I have to make one point. At one of the meetings, I said we had to change our way of thinking. Nothing has been said here about the cost of this thing. We have no money in our budget to afford these highfalutin companies. One of them was $17,000, $20,000. Primex, $2,000, $3,000. You have to consider that before, what are we impacting by spending all that money? And maybe we'll get the same kind of results from Primex that we're going to get from these bigger companies. Something to think about. And I think it's serious. There's a lot of money that we're going to spend, and God knows how it's going to land up. So I don't mind putting a lot of time in it. It'll be a good experience for the council, and then we'll be prepared down the road if we have to do this again, and probably we will have to. So that's my feeling. I'm sorry, but I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but I have to speak out.
So just one clarification, Councilor Lassard, it's not Primex doing the search. I just want to make, it's, Primex is there to
Right, I understand.
answer our questions. So it's it would be a local search conducted by the
I
council
understand.
and staff,
Right.
with support from staff. Councilor Pope.
We just had another local search done for an executive by the school board. Did they do that with a local option or a company?
Does anybody know? I believe that they had a company.
I'd hate to put Mr. Zulo on the
Oh,
spot,
oh,
but he was
yeah.
probably a little closer to it than most people here.
Councilor Zula would know.
They had a company that did help them do the search. They did most of it. I mean, there was this company that did the advertising and guided them through, but the school board ended up choosing the candidate, and the committee, the search committee, ended up doing the search, but they did have assistance from an outside firm.
Councilor O'Hara.
My only thought would be is that the screening committee, based on what I read, because at the end of it, it says the screening committee will make a candidate, makes an offer to the candidate of choice, would have to be the council. We would have to be the screening committee, because we're the ones hiring them.
Yeah, that's wrong, too. There should be commissioners, I believe. But
But
actually,
the screening committee was comprised of the commissioners and the sheriff and everything, but at the end of the day, it's us.
yeah.
The screening
Now,
committee.
Commissioner Barrett reviewed it, so did the office staff, so whatever I have must be the right thing. So, sorry. Yep. Councilor Keir.
Just testing.
Yep.
I hate to keep banging on the same drum, so I'm only going to say just very shortly, I don't think this is the time or place to be gaining experience doing anything. I think we need people who already have experience. This is too important of a role for us to be like test driving it and seeing what we can do. I really think we need to think about having experienced people help us with this.
Okay. So can I get a feel as we go down there, who's going to go for which option?
Wait, are we going to get public
Yes, Counselor, sorry, I'm tired.
Mr. Osgood.
Sorry, Mr. Osgood, I know better.
Joe Osgood, Ward 1. I was here last night. I listened to a lot of the conversation. I'm in favor of doing this locally. I want to say that. Something that hasn't come up yet, and it should, so everybody that wasn't here last night and can hear it, is the number on a committee that's put together. As much as I'd like to see a whole bunch of the public involved, I'm not in favor of it. My thoughts, and I'm only giving you my thoughts, is 3 council members, 2 people from the public, and you haven't answered something that you said you were going to check on last night that is kind of important to me. Would Commissioner Barrett be interested in being on the committee?
I did ask that question.
Okay. Councilor Keir is mentioning lack of experience. He stood up here last night and gave me a pretty good indication that he has experience. So that would be a kind of a key thing for me that I would like to see. As much as I would like to be on that committee, you start narrowing the numbers down, it might make it more difficult for me. But you start increasing the numbers, and then you got a group of people that have a lot of difficulty agreeing with one another. Smaller the committee, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Primex is another one that would be screwed into this process that would bring on a lot of experience. One thing I would like to bring up as far as if a committee's put together is that that committee, through either Primex or the New Hampshire Municipal Association, be immediately brought up to speed on the confidentiality of applicants through the process, so that I know councilors are very familiar when you go into non-public session, what happens there stays there, and I'm thinking if Commissioner Barrett was on there, he would feel the same way. Everybody on that committee should be very up to speed on confidentiality so things don't leak out that shouldn't. But I still think it can be done at the local level. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public who would like to speak on this issue? Okay, so is there a motion to go one way or the other? Because we need to make a decision tonight. Counselor Stone.
I'd make a motion to go with a local search for the next city manager position.
Is there a second?
Second?
For discussion purposes, I'd like to have the motion have some language in it that if we get to whatever phase where we get the resumes and we're getting less than 20 or less, that we reevaluate our process and maybe it's time to go with a company that has a broader reach.
I'd
Councilor
amend it
Stone?
to that.
I would be okay with that.
I'd also like to add that if we end up making a committee, that maybe we establish parameters that are closer to our city needs versus what the county did. That would be more applicable to us than the county level.
And I think that would be great in a follow-on motion, but if we can first choose what model we're going to go with, that would be great. So you made the motion, would you be willing to amend it
I would amend
to state that should we get to
Less
the
than 20 applications,
20 or less?
20 or less.
Yep. Then we'll reevaluate our process, or the chosen model.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I wasn't involved in the last process, but I assume you were for the city manager. How many applicants were received by the company that did it?
I don't think we had 20.
Yes, we did. And I sent it to everybody, I think, but it was like 48, 50 something.
The number 15 stuck in my head. Was that what they?
That's when it got down to the
Okay.
more qualified. But I have a whole outline.
Okay.
So you made your amendment, is that seconded?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so we have to vote on the amendment first and then the motion. So, all those in favor of the amendment to the motion?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so one is opposed to the original, to the motion. Okay, so that's that. Now, to your concern, Counselor Stone, and I do believe we need to iron this one out. We need to know, we can't have the whole body doing it. I would say a subcommittee of 3 to
I would concur with that.
take point. Counselor Phelps?
Well, one thing I thought of, even though it's an even number, 4 council members on that, because you do have to have 3 agree on that, which shows, may take some time to do it, but nonetheless, it does show that you've done the work to actually get agreement. Although I understand Mr. Odd's concern about the public. We had, I think, 19 or 20 to start with during the last search, and one of them quit because they didn't think they could be heard. However, I think 2 is probably too few. I had thought about this, at least 5 people, 5 public people, go through an application process like we did before. That way, at least there's a broader representation of the public. People do have to apply and be approved by the council, just like they were before. Mr. Barrett mentioned that they had department heads. Even though his list does have elected officials on that, I think it would be important to have some department heads from the city on that to get the employees' point of view, at least when things start off. Who's the manager going to manage? That's the employees. So.
So, yes, Counselor Ryan?
I just would differ on that, saying that it would be, I think, inappropriate for an employee that's going to be managed by the candidate to be asking that person questions. In all the years I've worked, it's, I've never had where somebody, it's going to be managed, if this person's going to be hired to manage, why would their employees be asking them questions. That
You
just
haven't?
sounds,
I do that with all of my interviews.
That's been commonplace wherever
Yeah.
I've worked. Be it in private industry, be it public. It's been commonplace to have some employees involved, the people who are going to work for them.
Yeah.
Counselor Stone?
We do have one department head that's appointed by someone other than the city manager, which would be the chief of police.
That's one. DPW also has a lot of things that they might have questions about. We heard a lot of concerns from DPW over this last time.
So there's two phases, remember, on this local search. The first one is when you're building your profile to put out the ad. That's when you can have all of your department heads and people around the table talking about what do they want to see in the next city manager. So for sure, if we follow this, and I would recommend, if you've chosen a local model, let's not deviate too far from a model that has proven successful at least 3 times, according to Commissioner Barrett. So in the first part, that's when you're gathering your qualifications, what you want to see in a city manager. So you would be speaking with the department heads then. The whole council can, participate in that discussion, and members of the public. And the way you do that, you can open up a web page for comments. There's a number of ways you can do it to gather that feedback. You put that in the profile, and then that's how you post the ad or the announcement. The screening committee phase, they were very, at the county level, they had one person from the county delegation. I thought that was a good idea. In this case, Commissioner Barrett would serve that, because you should have connectivity between the municipality and the county. So there you get that. But having 5 people from the public, I think that's way too many, plus the 3 from the council, and, if you want the police chief or whoever you decide.
I think
Councilor Keir.
whatever your number of counselors, that's how many number of public it should be. That way it's evenly balanced input from each side, personally. I don't know if I think 5 is too many, but I think whatever your number of counselors, that's what your number of public should be. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
I would like to see, an odd number, so that if we have 3 counselors, then we'd want at least 4 members of the public sitting on it. And if one of those members were
So does anybody want to put anybody from the staff on the screening committee, or no?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I do.
From the staff?
The school did it in their last search. They've done it before. Your employees have to have confidence in the management. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. Just speaking as an employee who works with a superintendent, various superintendents over the years, we don't have confidence in them. That does create a lot of issue. I know the city hasn't had people on there before, and over the years, I've heard different comments about confidence in various city managers. Maybe that is part of the problem. Maybe this time we involve them. Maybe that solves that problem. When it comes to the public, we just had people talk to us tonight about why aren't people here. They don't feel like they're being heard. It's more than just the chairs. Although 19 is a high number, I certainly think we need to get some public people in there, and I would still stick with 5, because it's an odd number. It makes people feel like they're being heard, makes us feel like we're more inclusive, like we're not just being exclusive and selecting our buddies and friends, which I don't think we would, but that would be the perception. So, there's my thoughts.
Other? Yes, Counselor Stone?
So maybe we want to consider having 2 department heads from the city, and then having 5 members of the public. Satisfy that?
That's kind of, I would buy that, yeah. But I think it's important to have some of the people.
No, I agree.
6, 7, 8, 9. So the county had a screening committee of 9. Okay? I would highly recommend, however that fleshes out, no more than 9. That's already a big committee.
How many did the college have when they did theirs? Were you on that one?
No.
I think they had 11 or something like that. Still worked pretty good.
Again, I'm really reticent, if we're going to do the local model, we should be following a model that has worked well and not deviate too much from that. Counselor Zulu.
So why don't we do 3 counselors, 4 members of the public, so we actually have more public than counselors, and 2 department heads. That way the department heads, or the employees feel like they're having their say too. I think that's a fair, diverse group. It keeps it at 9. It's an odd number, so if there's anything that's got to be voted on.
I would agree with that.
And Commissioner Bear could wear 2 hats. He could be the commissioner and the public, right?
Yeah.
No, that's,
If
now
you're
you've
gonna
already
get-
filled one of your public spots out of the application process.
But he's a
You're already-
resident and a businessman here. Why wouldn't you
Filling in with our buddies.
huh?
Well, we're the ones who are going to appoint whoever's
Yeah,
on,
I know.
So,
There's a safeguard there.
Counselor Stone.
To throw it in, if we're going to have 2 department heads, maybe we should consider having 1 unionized employee as well. Yep.
Again, department head. That's what they
So use strictly
use.
department heads?
Yes.
that's what I would agree with as well.
Yeah, because the unionized employees don't work directly under the, I mean, they do in the chain of command, but they're not directly answering to the city manager. Union employees aren't. They're answering to the department head.
Yeah.
I know we haven't mentioned it, but I think if we're talking about department heads, we also have to consider Mary. She does the finance for our city, and she is the kind of backup city manager when the city manager's not here. So I think she has a wealth of knowledge that we could tap into, and I think she'd be very important in this if she were willing to.
So, let's get agreement on the composition. So I think I'm hearing, what am I hearing, 9?
Yeah,
Is that
3, 4, and 2.
3,
Yeah, that's nice.
3, 2, okay. All right.
I'm okay with that.
Are we okay with 9? Comprised of
3
3
council,
city councilors,
4 members of the public, 2 department heads.
Council Pope, did you still?
Oh, did you have something
Well, no, I mean, we're trying to match one model, but we're also trying to create something that's going to work for the city. That's just my concern. I mean, when we're going for 9, we're already trying to match a model, but I still would stick with the idea we need to have 5 citizens, and that needs to be from a pool. If we want to have council, or want to have Commissioner Barrett on, he should be serving as a commissioner on that committee, as a person who works with the city, one of the, I don't know how to put it, partners or vested interest. I mean, that should be his position as commissioner for the county, not a citizen or anything like that.
when you have a limited number on a committee, I think you need to make the committee as strong as possible, so if people can wear them more than 1 hat, I don't see the problem. I think the bigger issue here is, 1, 2, well, there's 2 things. Follow the model, because it's proven to be successful. We're trying it out for the first time. We want to eliminate as many possibilities of failures possible. Well, that's repetitive. And then 2, have a committee that can be productive and not so big that it becomes dysfunctional. So that's where we're at. And 9 is what they had. So, is there a motion for the composition of the screening committee?
I would motion that our screening committee consists of 9 members, 3 counselors, 4 members of the public, or citizens of Claremont, and 2 department heads.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Counselor Pope is opposed.
Your Honor, I would recommend that you give the steering committee a clear, charge of what they need to do, and so that there's no confusion when they actually are doing their job, and that you also give consideration to who might actually chair that group, should a chairperson be needed because you have a number of people, obviously, and it will be probably much more helpful to you to have someone who's organizing it and then adhering to whatever the charge is that comes from the full city council.
Unless you're talking about a type of person being the chair. I mean, we don't know who would be on the screening committee at this
I'm
point.
just suggesting that somebody should possibly step from that group and be appointed to actually chair that group so that it functions well and that you have a charge so that the screening committee knows exactly what its duty and function is.
Councilor O'Hare?
Well, it may be a later discussion, but how to chairs are being appointed or elected, or not elected or appointed, but decided on committees and boards.
Usually they're voted by the other members of the committee.
So that goes to the committee, so therefore it's going to be done by that committee as when they're developed.
But to Mr. McLean's point, tonight, we can be clear on what the charge
Yeah,
is.
Yes. No, I
That
agree
there
with
should
that.
be
I
a
just-
chair.
And that they appoint a chair.
Yeah.
So who would like to take a crack at that, utilizing the model of what that screening committee did?
It's all you.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I guess I missed what you said.
Okay. Want me to try it? And you guys can correct it if it's not what you like. Okay. The council will be charging the screening committee to receive all of the resumes or the applications.
Well, they got to create the,
What?
they have to create the profile first. There you go. Thank you.
That's not the screening committee.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
So,
Sorry.
the
testing
screening
you.
committee will receive all of the resumes from the applicant, independently rank order them, come together as a committee, select the top 6 candidates, and conduct 2 rounds of interviews. The second round being of the final 3.
I thought the council was going to do that as,
Yeah,
That would be my
the
suggestion.
final round would be done by
See,
the
that's-
Second one would be the council.
Yeah, so they could pick the top 6 and present them to the council. I think it was, right? Is that what we're
No,
thinking?
top 3. They
Sorry,
narrowed-
top 3. Yes,
no,
sorry.
narrowed down to
Sorry.
top 3.
Okay. That's why this is good that we have 9 people here, or in this case, 7. Okay, so scratch that last part. Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just a thought. If the screening committee rank orders the choices, does that not create a conflict potentially for you? Because ultimately, it's going to be the full city council. So the screening committee is going to take all these resumes and applications, and it's going to determine those who are qualified, who meet your qualifications, or meet the minimum qualifications for the position, whatever the standard has been set. Do you want them to actually rank order the candidates from, as the most appealing candidate to the least, or do you just want them to give you strengths and weaknesses on the candidates so that the council can independently have its choice without saying, okay, we didn't pick the screening committee's first choice, we picked the screening committee's third choice? Rather than set yourself up for that kind of dynamic, would it not be better to just get strengths and weaknesses from your screening committee and who meets the minimum qualifications, and then allow the council to make its own rank ordering of the candidates?
And then it would go back to the screening committee to do the first interview?
Well, I'm not understanding, so that you're following a model that I think the county has used, and I think the county is a little bit different than we are because it has elected department heads, for example, and things of that nature. So it's probably much more important, having been a county administrator at one point in my career, I think I understand that process a little bit. It's a very fine process, I'm sure it will work. I'm not finding any fault with it. I'm just simply suggesting, how do you want these candidates to be sent to you? Do you want them rank ordered? And then if you don't pick the first order, the first number 1 candidate, does that set up a conflict of any sort? Or do you want really just to know that you're getting qualified candidates and their strengths and weaknesses so that you can figure out who the rank order might be?
Right. So the interviews would be done by the council? Both the first and second?
No,
round?
I think I confused you. I was
I know
confused. So
what-
they're gonna
I know
do
what he's talking about.
the screening, they're gonna do the first interview with the 3 finalists. He's saying, should it be rank ordered, this is our first, second, or third, or should it be, these are our strengths and
Right, it should
weaknesses?
be the top three. Go
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
council.
So
I get it
that's,
now. Sorry, I was
Full
confused.
council.
okay.
Yeah, last time we did it, the screening committee gave us, I believe, 5, and they didn't rank order them or give us strengths and weaknesses. They just said, here's our 5 you should interview.
That would be acceptable too.
So what is our motion, Ms. Melder?
Do you know? Do you know? Because we don't.
Okay,
The council will be charging the screening committee to receive all resumes and applications, independently rank order them, together as a committee select the top 6, and conduct 2 rounds of interviews.
If you don't want to make-
fine job, but we're going to change that. So who wants to have a crack at it? You want to try?
The committee will conduct the first round.
Oh, hold on, I'm on the wrong letters.
Yeah, the last sentence, delete.
Oh,
And
what do you say, do that?
Amend it, I guess.
All right, the committee,
We'll conduct the first round of interviews.
And narrow it down to 3 candidates that they will present to the council,
Full council.
full council, to conduct the second round of interviews.
we will conduct first round of interviews and send top 3 to the city council.
Perfect.
Your Honor, the only concern I have for this process is, if you look at your last hiring or recruitment, there were local candidates that did not get sent to the full city council. In hindsight, maybe they should have been. So some candidates didn't make it, and so I wonder again, is there any concern that only the top 3 coming out of this committee might be too limiting a factor?
I mean, I would like to see all of them, even if we just only are picking from the top 3.
Right.
But
The council can, are you suggesting, Mr. McLean, that the council should have liberty of seeing all of the applications?
I'm just reminding you that this in the past has
Right.
caused some problems, and so you might want to think about that.
Councilor Ahern?
I would agree with that. I think that any applications that have come in, even unsolicited applications, should have come to the council, and that the ones that are sitting in the HR should have been submitted to the council if they're applying for city manager's job, so that, even if they're unsolicited, we should be able to look at them, because, we're going to have a process. So after this motion, those should be at some point submitted and incorporated into this committee. I hope they don't sit there and...
No, they'll be incorporated, but once you get the process started. But, so, I think once the screening committee does its selection down to the top 3, they should forward to the entire council all of the resumes with a listing of their strengths and weaknesses, but identify their top 3 choices. Is that fair? Does that work? Okay. You got that?
Should we put in that when they submit their 3, that they're not in any rank or order?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And I would second that.
It's a long motion.
Don't worry, there's a tape.
Is Dory back yet?
So who made the motion?
You made it.
I made the motion, and then after all of the additions, then Counselor Keir seconded it, right?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so we got that. All right. Who are going to be the 3 counselors?
Should we nominate them now?
Yeah, because we got to get started.
It was Councilor Keir.
Okay, Counselor Zulu?
I make a motion to nominate Andrew O'Hearn, Counselor O'Hearn, to the city manager. Call him this.
Search committee.
Search committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was there any, wait a minute, before we even go there, how many people even think that they have the bandwidth to do this?
Depends on
I
when
would
it is.
decline.
You would decline. I know you're
Decline.
declining. I'm not doing it. I know, well, Counselor Starr.
I'd be available for it.
Counselor Starr.
I would be available. I got time.
Okay. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3. And
Counselor O'Hearn, did you ask? Sorry.
well, I thought you had said yes yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All three of us said yes.
okay, but we have to. Let's not forget, Assistant Mayor Dameron has also been doing a lot of this work, and I believe he wanted to continue doing this work. And so there's 5 people.
Did Nick indicate anything to you in his email?
No.
Okay. Well, then forget him.
And do you think you have bandwidth?
If it was a nights or weekend thing, yes, not during the day.
And you guys are available when? Day, night,
Either.
either?
Whoever needs to be done, we can do it.
Either. Counselor Pope?
Well, I'll nominate Assistant Mayor Dameron.
Well, wait a
We
minute.
already have a
We have a motion on the floor. So all those in favor of appointing Counselor O'Hearn, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
I'm gonna stay. I'm staying. So.
So your motion. Okay.
Nominate Assistant Mayor Dameron for the search committee.
I would second, you're going to second it? Okay, so Counselor Pope made the motion to nominate Assistant Mayor Dameron to the committee, and Counselor Keir seconded it. All
Can we
those,
can we discuss?
yes.
Okay. Does Assistant Mayor Damwin have the bandwidth? I mean, he's not here tonight to,
He's ill.
no, I understand that. I just don't want to nominate him for something or vote him on the award and then him not be able to have the time where
He indicated that he would.
he would be able to.
Right. And he has lots of experience in these kind of searches, too. I think he was on the college search, to answer your question. Okay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we need one more.
I would-
Counselor Zulu.
I would make a motion to appoint Counselor Stone to the City Manager Search Committee.
Discussion?
Yep.
I don't care if it's me, but I really think there should be a woman from the council on this search, whether it's Claire or myself. I just think that we don't want any biases, et cetera. Not saying that anybody intentionally has any, but that's just something that I would say.
Other discussion?
Had you indicated that you were not interested in being this, Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I think, no.
Be a breath of fresh air. Might not like it, but it'll be a breath of fresh air.
So, I mean, the motion's on the table, so we have to vote on it. I just wanted that to be my part of my discussion.
Right.
Change that.
I actually would agree with that one.
Okay.
Not trying to throw shade at anybody, I just think that that's probably, we keep talking about diversity and such.
You should have a cross-section.
That's why maybe 4 council members, but anyway. Just a thought, you know?
Okay, so we have a motion for Counselor Stone, and there was a second. And then there was discussion about perhaps having a woman on the, representing the council in the screening committee. So, all those in favor of appointing Counselor Stone, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So I hear 2 in favor, 2 opposed, and I would go with having a woman represented, so I would oppose. Do you have that?
So it's,
So the people who were in favor were Counselor,
I asked for a roll call on that because we have heard two and two, but I don't know, I think I heard.
Okay. We'll call on that motion, please.
Counselor Lassard?
No.
Counselor O'Hearn?
Yes.
Counselor Stone?
Abstain.
Counselor Zulo?
Yes.
Counselor Kier?
No.
Counselor Pope?
No.
Mayor Lovett?
No, and you were right, Councilor O'Hearn. Okay. Counselor Kier.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Claire Lassard to the City Manager Search Committee.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, so Counselor Kier made the motion and Counselor Pope seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, congratulations. So,
Can I speak?
yes.
I understand, Council Care's point of view, and I also think that Council Stone has the ability and has put a lot of input into this, and I think that he still should be on the committee. So if that's the case, I'd rather give up my seat on the committee to him, because I think that he has the time, he has put effort into it, more as finding places in which we can do things, and I think that he should be on the committee. So if we're going to do it with the three councilors and Councilor Lassard and Assistant Mayor Dameron, I think we should have Councilor Stone on that. So if I need to change or make a motion to take me off and put him on, I would be in favor of that.
Okay, that's gracious of you. So would you like to make that? No. You want somebody else to make that motion, or?
I'm willing the weather, but I'll do what we can. But I mean, I guess we would say,
Well, it's Jeremy's first, let him.
I'll make a motion to remove Counselor O'Hearn from the search committee
And appoint.
and appoint Counselor Stone to the search committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so that motion was made by Counselor Zulo and seconded by Counselor Pope. All those in favor say aye.
Do you accept that?
I accept that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So, I think we've done everything we need to do with regard. I would ask that we continue having the city manager.
Charlotte, I don't know if you want to take comments from the
Mr.
public, but
We're behind schedule, but we'll try to make up
Messages.
some things. Oh, we're not too behind. Okay.
too
So,
excited.
so the next thing on our agenda is the transfer of funds to establish the